good afternoon, folks, and it's been a while, but we are back for episode 192 of the Sticks and the Six podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as all the sponsors that you can see on the screen here. Peter, it's good to be back. We're going to be talking a little bit of Leafs, a little bit of rookie talk as we get into the Calder, the final stretch of the Calder race here. We're in the final stretch of the regular season. The Leafs have a chance tonight to lock it up against a former playoff foe, to lock up their playoff the playoff spot, not necessarily their seed, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Before we get into that, how you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Usually I would come on and say, I'm doing fine. As you could tell, for all our viewers and listeners, it's been a rough couple of weeks for me. Going to try and keep this short and sweet, but dealt with a passing in my family, very sudden, very out of the blue, and it's took a toll on me, took a toll on all of us for a good couple of weeks, and trying hard not to, trying to hold everything back right now, but at the same time, it's definitely I've dealt with losses of family members in the past. Expected, we were preparing for it again. Something like this, you just can't prepare for, and was just deeply gutted, deeply emotionally, mentally distraught over the news. And I'm a little bit better right now, but still hurts, still stings. My cousin, he left the family behind, and it's something that's it's just breaking my heart right now. And again, he grew up as a Habs fan, so obviously my side of the family in Montreal being there, so we always had those friendly banters going back and forth, Leafs, Habs, beers, everything, you name it. It was always great when we always caught up, but now won't be able to have that again. So yeah, this episode, Nick, this episode is dedicated to you, buddy. And you will truly be missed. And I know we're going to be getting into it, talking about it right now, but kind of glad that the Montreal Canadiens are going on this long run, pushing for a playoff spot and being in the wild card race right now. So just seems kind of fitting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, like I said to you off screen, I mean, we've been doing this podcast going on 5 years now. I consider you family, man. We've been through a lot over the last 5 years. We touch base weekly. Your family, I know, our listeners, I know, those that tune in weekly and that listen to us babble on about hockey know that there's real life outside of these screens sometimes. I know I speak for everybody that tunes in weekly, that our thoughts and vibes, and we send all good vibes to you and your family, and hopefully you guys can get through this tough time. Obviously, like you said, anytime that you lose a family member, and us as a Sticks and the Six family, we've lost a family member in losing your cousin, buddy. So I'm with you, and it is fitting that the Habs are going on this run right now. I think I speak for all of Leafs Nation when I say that we are Montreal fans anytime that they can knock off the Florida Panthers. So
helping us out big time a couple of times. They came up clutch,
I'll tell you, I got a Habs fan at work that yesterday, right before the game, he tried to get me to say, "Go Habs, go." I will not say that and mean it in a go Habs go type of way, but I am a Habs fan anytime that they take on a division rival that's chasing down the Leafs for the Atlantic Division title. So,
and I think the scenario yesterday was the Habs had to lose in order for us to clinch. And to be honest, I'd rather get that separation, just get 1 point or steal 1 point away from them than actually clinch it. Because now with 1 point tonight, the Leafs could actually clinch it.
So on that topic, let's just kick it off with that. The Leafs can clinch tonight against the Florida Panthers, which is a huge boost if you can not only get the 2 points, create more separation in the Atlantic Division, but also clinch against a team that has knocked you off twice in the past 4 to 5 years in the playoffs. And this is like you said, it's almost fitting because you want the Leafs to clinch it themselves. You don't want
Hmm.
them to clinch by proxy, right? And that's essentially what would have happened last night if Montreal had lost. So not only does Montreal help the Leafs in the Atlantic Division standings, they also um, give us the opportunity to clinch against the Florida Panthers tonight. So it's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to have a playoff atmosphere. Matthew Nyes already mentioned that it's going to be a
Hmm.
big time physical affair. Brad Marchand's back in the lineup. You got Brandon Carlo on one side, former Bruins scattered throughout the lineups right now.
It still doesn't feel real.
It
It
doesn't
still
feel
really doesn't
real,
feel
man.
real.
The Rat is playing for the Florida Panthers, and it seems like almost unfitting that he's going to be there. But somehow, I feel like there's going to be some impact made by those two players tonight. So, with that in mind, you look at the title of this episode: Maple Leafs, Kings of the Atlantic Division. They're 3 points up right now.
Hmm.
But we know in any given game a 3 point lead means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
We've seen it before. It was 4-1. We've seen it before. We've had those comments in our comment section before. The Leafs are up 3 points in the Atlantic Division. How big are these 2 points against the Florida Panthers tonight?
They're absolutely huge. I mean, there is no other way to put it because actually, I was writing something about the possible opponents that the Maple Leafs could go up against, and it's basically at this point it's either going to be Tampa Bay, Florida, or Ottawa. It's one of those three teams. Who it is, we just don't know. Which is kind of weird to say because we've actually known in the past on who our opponent was going to be basically at the beginning of March. Now it's like neck and neck right now. Ottawa is probably out of it, but because of the wild card spot and the Maple Leafs are currently the 1 seed right now, you're looking at a possible Battle of Ontario reunion or a rivalry being renewed kind of thing. And as much as I would love that, the Ottawa Senators look scary, man. I do not count them out.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
one. They're basically that underdog story team that could have a big run and knock somebody out, and that team could be the Maple Leafs. Um, with Tampa Bay and Florida right now, it's just separated by 2 and 1 points right now. So it's anybody's game, and Toronto could easily fall down to the third spot and they could lose home ice advantage. So yeah, absolutely. This game against Florida absolutely is crucial right now. I mean, you look at how the last game went, it was a perfect start for the first 10 minutes against Florida, and then everything just got unbuckled. Undisciplined penalties. They lost a special teams game. You kind of got some momentum back with the Max Domi goal, but you really couldn't salvage that. And you were one goal away from getting a point and creating a little bit of separation at that point. And even some losses in games where they probably should have been the better team and they should have won, especially teams below them. Both of those San Jose games, you got 1 point out of both of those games, but you lost 2 points overall in which you should have won. So those 2 points added on probably could have created a little bit more separation in the standings. But here we are talking about, the importance of this game, and every game down the stretch, it is absolutely vital and important for the Maple Leafs because this is always the case. How you finish is how you want to play going into the playoffs. So right now, if you have a kind of like playoff atmosphere game like you did against the LA Kings, and I'm going to throw in the Anaheim Ducks in there because they're fighting for their playoff life as well. They're in the thick of things. They're a little bit further down, but they're still in the race. So it's like, you had a good game against Anaheim, who's fighting and looking very sharp right now in the hopes of possibly, making a push. It doesn't seem likely at this point, but the fact that they're a 500 team and still in it after being dead last the last few seasons or like towards the bottom of the standings, I'm going to count them as a team that's like, being desperate, and the Maple Leafs handled that very, very well. Yeah, so right down the stretch, no matter who the opponent is, treat this like a game 7. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way around it. And knowing Berube and knowing what's at stake right now, I'm pretty sure they're not focused on winning first place. They're not going to say it, but it does kind of feel like deep down they know what's at stake and they want to try and win it and lock everything down.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the importance of clinching tonight, but on top of that, like to solidify a spot atop the Atlantic. I mean, I think it's pretty set in stone that Washington's going to take the conference, which is it's fair to assume.
Yeah.
They've had an unreal year under Carberry. but the Leafs have an opportunity here to kind of not only gain home ice advantage throughout the playoffs, but to also put themselves in a position to take on one of those bottom seeds. Now, it is interesting because right now it would be the Ottawa Senators, and we've seen Linus Allmark before come alive and really take to the Maple Leafs. He is a big backstop when it comes to the Maple Leafs, but one thing worth noting, if the Ottawa Senators do become the first round opponent for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is that one, you've got history on your side in terms of matchups between these two teams. Not necessarily this season, but history, historically, I should say. But one of the other things to consider is Brady Tkachuk has not been the same since the Four Nations face-off.
And a little bit more undisciplined as well. Like
a little bit more undisciplined
getting to him and the team right now.
There's frustration there. There's something lingering, whether it be an upper body injury, lower body. We don't really know. I believe he sat out the other night with an upper body injury. So there is that to kind of consider as well. Now, in saying that, I think every team going into the postseason is dealing with some injuries, but when it's your star player like that, I mean, we've seen it with the Leafs all season long. Matthews has not been 100%.
Yeah.
That said, he's been on one hell of a tear lately. We'll get into that. We'll get into Tavares being on a tear. So the Leafs have seen more balance throughout their lineup. But considering that Matthew Tkachuk is such a big piece in that lineup, did I say Matthew? I meant Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk. Sorry.
We'll get to the other Tkachuk in a bit.
Yeah, Brady Tkachuk. I heard it, but I didn't process it for a second there. But yeah,
I saw you pause up there for a second. I'm like, I think you got it.
Buffering. Yeah. You know, like it's that spinning wheel of death. But it's for Brady Tkachuk to have an injury going into the postseason. It's a huge noteworthy thing for the Ottawa Senators. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that we're seeing so many Canadian teams get into playoff spots at this point, this late in the season. Montreal, Ottawa, obviously Edmonton's there. Calgary's fighting for a spot. Vancouver, they're kind of dipping off, but they're fighting for a spot. Like there's Winnipeg's right there atop the West. So it is fun to see that at this point in the season. That said, the importance of home ice advantage for the Maple Leafs right now is huge. And in saying all of that, if they clinch tonight, it'll be the 9th straight season that they've clinched the playoffs. I know you and I have talked about this before. The way that Leafs Nation is almost spoiled a little bit in terms of, well, we've never made it past the first round. Think of all the teams that haven't made the playoffs in years. The Buffalo Sabres, for example. Yeah. We are spoiled.
I'm just going to point out Ottawa in close to a decade.
Yes, exactly. And so we are spoiled in the fact that yearly for the last almost a decade, we've been able to see playoff hockey. And I think that's worth noting outside of the fact that they haven't made it past, well, they made it past the first round, but they haven't gone on a long run. Yeah, we can't even call it a second round. Like that's not a victory when you get to the second round, you get blown out by the Florida Panthers. So that let's wash that right off the table. But it is important to note that the Leafs are atop the Atlantic right now. They have an opportunity to make up points. They have 2 more matchups against the Florida Panthers. They have another matchup against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This final stretch is going to be one of the more difficult final stretches of the season. They have 1 game against the Ottawa Senators as well. They need to get it done. And as you mentioned, they need to play playoff hockey starting right now, starting tonight. And there's no reason why they can't go like 5-2-1 over the last 8 games. Yeah, this is a doable feat.
Especially against that game against the Kings too, where they have like an 800 winning percentage on home ice, and that was already like a playoff like atmosphere.
Best game of the year, I think. Best game of the year for them.
That is definitely one of those character wins that's going to, like, you go into an opposing team's barn in the playoffs and you have a result like that where you steal a game. That's a big momentum change right there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Obviously, the Sharks' loss is a little disappointing. The fact that they lost to them twice this season, it sucks. It sucks. I mean, this is a team.
There's no other way around it.
Albeit, the Sharks, I would argue, are a better team than the Chicago Blackhawks.
Absolutely.
They're further along in their overall development than the Chicago Blackhawks. And with that said, that's the parity in the NHL, is that any team can beat you on any given day, especially when you have a generational talent in Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it stings because you want the points, but I guess you got 2 out of a possible 4 points from those games. So, it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, tonight's an important game. I want to kind of go back over the last weekend here. The California Dreamin', the trip that used to just buckle the Maple Leafs in terms of not getting a single point from that run between the Kings, the Sharks, and the Anaheim Ducks. They've fared well over the last few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they get 5 out of a possible 6 points in this run. A strong game against LA, as we talked about. A pretty good game against Anaheim, albeit Anaheim's got looking a lot better than
Yeah.
I would have considered earlier on in the season. And then, of course, the shootout loss to Timothy Liljegren and the San Jose Sharks. But the Leafs come away with 5 points, get them back into first in the division. How important was this stretch for the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, again, going back on what I said before, absolutely critical. I mean, like you mentioned, like this is a road trip that's hampered this team for quite some time where everyone is dreading, 3 straight losses in a row. But now, the last few seasons, they fared very well. They've been the dominant team and, they come out with the points needed in order to separate themselves or move up in the standings. Same thing right now. Again, losing 2 points to the San Jose Sharks, not ideal, but they are a better team. Same thing, like the Anaheim Ducks were very competitive against the Maple Leafs, but Toronto, again, they handled the pushback very well. They managed to find a way off that Steven Lorentz, deflection in, and it basically solidified the game. Shut down defended very well in front of Joseph Wall as well. And I'm just going to say this right now. That shot by Leo Carlson, man, like, geez, that went in and out in a flash. And this is why Anaheim Ducks fans are going to be so happy to have him on their side. Same with Beckett Seneca. You're seeing the payoff with Olin Zellweger. You still got Noah Warren coming up. You still got Tristan Luneau. So you got a foundation.
Pavel
Mintyukov,
Lucas
Dostal, Jackson Lacombe is looking very well. Mason McTavish. So you already got a solid core of top 4, top 6 players already making their impact. And the younger players are stepping up in a big role right now. So this is going to be their team at some point, and they're going to be relied on that. And I thought Toronto handled that pressure very well because, like you said, parity is going to be very, very key from here on out. I think there's going to be a stretch. Yeah, you're going to have a team that's going to finish in last, but I think it's going to be you're not going to have one team that's going to be as bad. Maybe for the next couple seasons. I don't know how bad the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be, but they better get Connor Bedard some help ASAP and have some of their top prospects move up, maybe possibly quicker than expected, but you don't want to rush them. Mm-hmm. But overall, yeah, I think the parity is going to be great. And at some point, you're going to have teams that are going to be really, really good that still miss the playoffs because of how competitive this league is going to be right now. You may have a couple teams that are going to be down. I think you could probably include Pittsburgh Penguins at some point because they need to hit the rebuild as soon as possible. But yeah, I just sorry.
Good old Doobie. Good old Doobie in Pittsburgh.
Good old Kyle Dubas, man. I mean, we got to thank him for some of the picks, like Matthew Nyes and everything. So yeah. But yeah, I think this run definitely indicates that this Maple Leaf team should have that mindset going through the whole entire road trip, coming back home, and even down the stretch that no matter who their opponent is, play like your life is depending on it. Play it like this is going to be your last game of the season and you don't want to go home. That desperation factor needs to go in. But also, I think Craig Berube is going to play a big part. This is a guy that wants accountability. He wants the most out of his players. And we hear him like from the games, like post games, we hear about the criticism, but he does talk a lot about the positives as well, in terms of like the compete, the energy, the north-south game, the physicality. Those are the hallmarks of this team right now. And now that the fact that everyone is relatively healthy, Carlos set in, Lawton's looking very, very impressive, especially after that Nashville game. I think from that Nashville game on, this has been his best stretch as a Maple Leaf. He's not going to be a top 6 producer, but the production is there for where he is in the lineup. Would maybe like a couple more points, absolutely, but the chemistry he's forming with Domi is absolutely phenomenal. Again, Carlo's looking like an absolute monster on the back end. So you're getting contributions from everybody. And now comes down the decision who is going to be in the lineup come opening day for the
Yeah.
playoffs. Because
Yeah.
you got some choices to make, especially in that bottom six. I think the top six, you're already set. I think you got to have Nylander and McMahon on the top because McMahon's looking very well with Tavares and Nylander. And then it's going to come down to who do you feel comfortable with? Do you want David Kampf on that fourth line? Is Scott Laughton still going to be on the wing with Domi? What's going to happen between Robertson or Yarncroke? Those are the big question marks that are going to happen. And even so, is Pacioretty healthy enough? I heard that, he is probably going to be good to go and he could be in the lineup, but we'll see what happens after that.
You had both Pacioretty and Hakanpää full
Skating.
participants in practice the other day. So, I mean, take it for what you will. I think had you told me that Hakanpää wouldn't play all season essentially and be ready for the playoffs, I honestly like the defensive depth I'd be okay with. It is what it is, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. I think I'm excited to get into our playoff preview shows where we kind of break down each series and make our picks. I'm pumped for that. That's always a fun thing to do. But yeah, it's the Leafs have a lot going for them right now. I think we've seen some of their best hockey as of late since their last little losing run there where they didn't have a regulation win in 7 games. So it's good to see them kind of bounce back, get that out of their system, and really.
I was about to say, get that stretch out.
Get the wiggles out, right?
Get that stretch out because this is the stretch that matters.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden now you've got a team that has kind of had that camaraderie, brought it together, and it adds. We always talk about the post deadline and how players sometimes don't fit in well, and chemistry kind of breaks off a little bit. They were still on a terrible run post deadline. They had Carlo and Laughton in the lineup. All of a sudden, they're part of that team. They feel like, and you saw like Steven Lorentz after Laughton scored and him just pumping him up. And first of all, what a fucking shot from the point by Laughton too for his first tuck as a Leaf.
That's what you want. Those are going to be the third line goals that are going to get the fans pumping and the adrenaline going because of the hometown boy, because of that snipe from far out,
and not one of those garbage ones where it goes off your shin pad in front of the net. It was a great shot. Anyways, I think having that kind of chemistry built, you got a lot of hometown boys now in the lineup. You got Marner, you got Tavares, you got Laughton, you got the list goes on. Steven Lorentz. These guys have dreamed about being Maple Leafs. These guys have dreamed about bringing. Playing for that team at some point in their careers, and now the potential to bring a cup to Toronto is very much endowed for these players, and I think that's kind of what's driving this team right now. And post deadline they've built that camaraderie. They've all been in that room. They've had that closed door meeting. Berube is a tough son of a bitch too. You hear these stories that from Terry Koshin where he stopped practice and he was F-bombing this, F-bombing that. And, that's something I like to see.
That is passion level right there. Dropping those expletives. And it's not to the point where it's it's not John Tortorella level, different situation or whatever, but this is a guy that just wants to get the most out of everybody because he knows the talent level is there. I get he has his own system, but he wants to try and find that balance. And if they're not executing and firing on all cylinders in practice, he's going to lay into you big time.
It's not mental fuckery. He's not playing around with these guys' heads. And I think that's a little bit of the difference. If Ryan Whitney came out with a report about the whole Cam York and Tortorella situation where it was, Tort said that he was going to bury him if he. Anyways, long story short, if that is the case, and for the most part, I think I've taken Torts throughout his career as a straight up guy. He'll tell you
he's up front, but he's too up front,
right? And I think that played into it a little bit. Whereas I think Berube is just he's hard nosed. Guys know how he played the game. They understand what Chief's all about, and there's a lot of respect there. I think there's a lot of respect, and he doesn't.
I think the Flyers were losing the room with Torts, and I think they just had enough of it.
He has more of a shelf life than a guy like Torts, right? Than a
Absolutely.
guy like Ken Hitchcock when he was
Mm-hmm.
there, than a guy like Mike Keenan when he was coaching.
Mm-hmm.
There's more of a shelf life to a guy like Craig Berube, where I think he can last a few more years, and the team buys in because of the respect of what he did on the ice as a player, as well as what he's done as a coach. He brought a team back from being dead last at Christmas to coming back and winning the cup.
Yeah.
There's something there, and the knowledge of the game is just, it far outweighs like the disrespect they might feel when he's shouting like, fuck you at practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the difference. But yeah, certainly something to consider moving forward. I think the other thing to note with Craig Berube is one of the conversation pieces that has been kind of surfacing around the Leafs all season long is, who is the number one goalie? And I wrote a piece about it for the Hockey Writers not long ago, talking about the Leafs have no clarity on a number one goalie right now. You've got two guys who have played more games than they have in any other season in their careers. Both have really good numbers when you look at it. When you break it all down, really good numbers. You got Joseph Woll, who was supposed to be the guy before you went out and got Stolars, who now has 25 wins on the season. And really, I mean, outside of a few hiccup games here and there, both players have played well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the most part, they've steered away from determining whether come playoff time they're going to have one or two goalies, if they're going to go tandem or whatnot. We've seen teams do it in the past. Obviously, the Boston Bruins did that. They eventually went with Swayman down the stretch as well. But there is some consideration now that the Leafs could have a tandem come playoff time. What are your thoughts on this? Is it something that you want to do, or is it something that pushes these goalies a little bit more, or does it kind of pull back a little bit because they know they're going to get their opportunity regardless of how they play?
I think it still pushes them for the time being because that job is still up for grabs. But we see, like you mentioned, some teams have gone through with the tandem, like the Boston Bruins, but we've seen how well it could work and how south it could go very, very quickly. So that is a big risk if you're going to do a tandem. And I get the Maple Leafs do have two steady guys that have showed up, especially with Stolars during the season. We know what Woll did last season coming in for Ilya Samsonov when he was just absolutely brutal, and he stopped the bleeding before going down at the end of Game 6, not playing in Game 7. But that is just one situation that I just want to try to avoid, and going with the tandem and splitting the games up. I mean, I think Bruce Boudreau said it best too. Like this was on Jay on SC one time, and I think he mentioned that he tried to do a tandem, didn't work, but then he went straight to one goaltender, and that was his guy going forward. I think you got to have that one guy going forward, whether it's Woll or Stolars, whoever plays the best down the stretch, or who gets the most opportunity. I think is going to be indicating on who's going to be the starter. Because I know there's going to be a few back-to-backs. You're going to be splitting that with Stolars and Woll. Granted, Stolars has kind of picked it up after going a little bit cold. Woll, same thing. He's had his moments here and there. Like that San Jose game wasn't great. The Pittsburgh game wasn't great. But he looked really good against the Anaheim Ducks, and a little bit more of a dangerous opponent compared to the other two teams. So you know that the competition factor is not going to be an issue. It's just the consistency. And I think when it comes down to those two, I think you just got to give it to Stolars at this point. Again, he has the Stanley Cup, barely played because he was behind Bobrovsky, but I just feel like if there's a situation where he doesn't play well, I know you could rely on Woll, but then you have to run with Woll. So I think you're going to run that tandem situation where you give them that stretch of games, and if they have one bad game, I think you got to switch it out. But then again, I mean, some teams can't afford that, or some teams aren't willing to do that, like Dallas, where you have a legitimate starter. Florida, legitimate starter. I think Logan Thompson's a legitimate starter for the Washington Capitals. Connor Hellebuck. You have those guys that can just run with it, and that's it. He's the guy, no questions asked. We're not going to the backup. I think in this situation, it's a little bit more difficult because of that 1A, 1B, but I think you got to pick one and stick with it rather than going back and forth.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to that Bruce Boudreau season that he kind of went back and forth, and it was Frederick Anderson and John Gibson, I think. Was that the tandem he had?
I think I can't see. This was a couple weeks ago. I think it was when he was in Washington.
Okay. Okay,
That's
because
what
yeah,
I.
who
That's
would
what
have
I
been the
think. I
coach?
could be wrong, but
Okay, so yeah, Bruce Boudreau was the coach back in 2015-16 of the Anaheim Ducks.
mhm.
John Gibson played 40 games. Frederick Anderson played 43 during the regular season.
I think that was another one too, where I think they did go back and forth in that postseason, so it could be that as well.
Yeah, so I agree. I agree to the extent that I think you have to start it off almost like they do in the World Juniors. Give each one of them a game, see how the and then you break it down from there. Not just on their play themselves, but how the team played in front of them.
Mhm.
Because a lot of it is confidence in the team in front of the goalie, right? And we've seen at times it's the same. Like if you look at baseball and the Jays, Kevin Gausman over the last 2 seasons for the Jays has been one of the best pitchers ERA wise.
Yeah.
The team also gives them 0 run support,
Mhm.
right? So if you have
Same thing here.
goalies, yeah, if you have goalies in net here come playoff time, yeah, you know what? Stolars might go out there and stop, 30 of 35 shots, but all of a sudden the team's not playing with confidence in front of them. And they, Wall goes out and stops, like, let's say 14 of 15 shots. But the team is playing, they're blocking shots, they're getting
Mhm.
it out. The transition game's different. Then you've got to take that into consideration as well. And I think at some point, a Stanley Cup winning team will make the determining factor of who their starter is by round 2.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, in the first 4 games, you have to try and figure out who is going to be your guy. And that's no slight on what they've done all season long. That's no slight on what their
Not at all.
capability
Yeah.
is. It's we can't keep going back and forth because we don't know what we're going to get on any
Mhm.
given night. And it does. I'm not speaking as a former goalie. I don't know, but I'm sure it fucks with them mentally.
Mhm.
I'm sure if
And
you
it
say,
only
"Hey,
gets when you said you got to have one by round 2. It only gets harder from there. It doesn't get any easier.
1,000%,"
Yeah.
and that said, like if you go into round 2, all of a sudden you're down 2-1 in the series. Somebody gets a pulled hammy or something. Something.
Mhm.
You have the confidence in knowing that you do have that secondary goalie that is capable of coming in and putting up the numbers, right? And I think that's where your head's got to be at. Hey, we're gonna go this way, and maybe you have a conversation. Maybe Craig Berube sits them both down and says, "Hey, you guys have killed it for us all season long. We won the Atlantic Division. We came past through the first round, but this is where we're at. This is where we're at. It's not a slight on you. It's not a slight on you. It's not saying that you've got more experience. It's not saying that you're better. This is where we're at. The team plays well in front of you right now. This is the way we're gonna go. Maybe you get back-to-back starts. Maybe you're starting game 3. We're up 2-0. I don't know. I'm an armchair GM right now, sitting here thinking this through. But it can't be an easy decision to make. It can't be an easy conversation to have. But what Stanley Cup winning team have you seen rotate goalies that much, aside from the Vegas Golden Knights, who needed to because of injuries?
Mhm. None.
Right. So
None. Again, that
that
was the one exception right there.
yeah, that's got to be the consideration, I think, moving forward, and the Leafs really have to discover some more clarity when it comes to who's going to be their number one starting the playoffs. Personally, I think they go with Stolar's game 1,
Yeah.
just because of the experience, the Stanley Cup ring. I think that does speak in terms
Volumes.
of a little bit. Yeah, it
Mhm.
speaks volumes in terms of that. So it'll be interesting to see. And honestly, anybody listening, we'd love to get your take on the duality of the Leafs in net as well. But it'll be interesting. I mean, kind of going off that as well. It's just a quick note. We don't have to dive into this, but Joseph Wall has played more games than he's ever played in a professional season. Um, and because of that, his numbers are great. He's got 25 wins. I believe his highest game total prior to that was 25 games. So he's matched his highest game total prior to this season with how
Mhm.
many wins he has this season. So that should also be taken into consideration. I think that the workload that he's taken on with the Stolar's injury, Wall was injured early on, but it wasn't as you know it wasn't as long as the one that Stolar's had suffered
Mhm.
mid season there. But anyways, Let's get to our washed up former captain, John Tavares, pending free agent. What have we heard? Like 3 seasons now that everyone's been saying like this is the worst deal. You guys are paying 11 million for a guy who's not going to be scoring 20 goals by the end of the season. Fuck you guys. Look at John Tavares now.
I was about to say you jumped off the bandwagon. It's too late for you to come back on. We told you yeah, he's hit a bit of a stretch, and let's face it, those COVID seasons hit everybody hard. Like, let's be realistic. Coming out of that 2021, 22 season, I'm just gonna read out his point totals. 80 points in 22, 23. 65 last season, yeah, another downward turn, but surpassed that with 69, and he's on the verge of 70, and possibly going to eclipse 40 goals. The first time that he could do that since he became a Maple Leaf. I really don't understand what this. I get you want to try and put the blame on him because he's the captain, but guess what? He's not the captain anymore, and he has been. I would assume behind William Nylander and the goalies, he's been one of the team's MVP so far this season. No doubt about that.
Consistency, man. Consistency. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you should mention that. Like, consider all of this that was going on outside of the game. So that bubble season, he got smoked in the head by a Corey Perry
serious head injury.
Head injury. Tough to come back from that. Again, no fault to Corey Perry or anything like that. It was a freak accident. Happened.
It was. Yeah.
So that happened. He's coming back from that. He's in a crazy financial battle with the CRA that's got to be taking some kind of mental toll, which is insane. Still stupid. He's dealing with the captaincy and the Toronto media on a daily basis, and then on top of that, the letdown of all of the Leaf seasons and the first round exits and the weight of that, and he's got a growing family outside of that.
Yeah,
it's the same conversation I'll have about Morgan Rielly this season.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Rielly's a first time dad. Speaking as a first time dad, that fucks with you. Your sleep is different. Everything.
I was about to say I cannot relate, but I can guarantee you that will throw you off big time.
Yeah. So take all of that into consideration with what John Tavares has been going through outside of those four walls of the arenas over the last 3 to 4 seasons. And this guy's putting up 35 goals, 34 assists, and 69 points over 67 games as what? I believe he's a 34-year-old.
34.
So to anybody who thought that he was like, and let's note too, I believe it's 8 game winners he's got this season.
Mm-hmm.
So clutch on top of being consistent, on top of being one of the most dangerous Leafs with his forehand, backhand in the slot, dangerous scoring opportunity, high danger scoring opportunities. This guy's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And on top of all that, all that, he is now top 50 all time in goals. Okay. Sits 50th all time in goals. And he reached his 1100th point this season. He's now 9 past that. Okay. So 1100th point this season. And that puts him, let me just get the number here. That puts him 67th on the all-time NHL list for points. Outside of having a Stanley Cup, this guy is a Hall of Famer.
Top 100 player.
Top 100 player. Not even considered for Team Canada at the Four Nations face-off, which, fine. Canada went on to win. We can all look back on it and say, maybe we were wrong. Maybe
still a mistake.
Still a mistake. This guy should have absolutely been one of the most notable players being brought on. 35 goals. He's second on the Leafs right now in goals behind William Nylander. The conversation about him slowing down, he is stronger on the puck than he ever has been in his career. He is in the zone. He's fighting. He's in front of the net. He's tipping pucks. You want to say that taking the C away from him was a questionable move by the Leafs? I mean, we've talked about it. We think it was the right move. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We've had people kind of comment and say, what a classless move, taking the C off. This is exactly what this guy needed to be revitalized in a season that he's fighting for a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might have fought himself out, he might have earned himself a contract outside of Toronto right now. Right? With the 35 goals, when you're looking at a 34-year-old and saying, "Yeah, he scored 35 goals, a lot of very nice goals." And yeah, it just like it's mind-boggling to think that people are talking about a slowdown season and how this was not worth $11 million. Look at any $11 million player in the league right now. If they have 70 points, I think you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah. And I think there are a couple teams, including the New York Islanders, that could use his 35 goals right now, but that's just me. Also, like, I'm just looking at cap wages right now and the potential, like, projected contract, and he could earn kind of the similar contract that he earned, like Steven Stamkos had. And this is the assumption that the salary cap is going up. So with the salary cap going up, you may looking at maybe in between $7-8 million right now. But I think if you bring up the term to maybe 4 years and maybe lower that cap hit down, that's possibly a situation because they have 3 years at $7.9 million at cap wages. But also, if you're to lose JT right now, with the way that he wins battles, with the way that he's able to push himself to the high danger area to get into those prime scoring chances or prime scoring areas, you're looking at the list of other potential free agents. Who can do that better than John Tavares?
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot, especially if you're looking at a center. Like, are you really going to try and look at Brock Nelson right now, who I know he can't average between 20, 30 goals, but I feel like JT can win more battles than Brock Nelson. There's a possibility that the Maple Leafs could look at Sam Bennett. I mean, he looks pretty good in the top six or like second line center role. Great, but I mean, and he's a little bit younger. But do you want to like push Tavares a little bit further down and have a $7-8 million third line center? Probably not. No. And now you also got to think that you got Domi and Lawton that are also center, but could also play the wing. What's going to happen there? I get that you may want to try and find other options out there, but it's hard pressed to find a guy that can get that production and be as impactful with the board battles and the way that he's able to come out successfully on top of that every time than John Tavares. So I still think that I still think Toronto's on his list. I don't think anywhere is out of the question or anywhere else is out of the question because he specifically chose here for starting his family. And it would be counterintuitive for him to say, hey, go to his family. Hey, I got another job elsewhere when I said I would come here because of that, right? I know things do happen, but at the same time, he just seems like a hometown kid that just wants to stay here and end his career off here. So I'm counting the other 31 teams out, and I'm Brad Treliving, just get something done because he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to put money on it. He's gonna structure that contract a little differently, given the CRA's bullshit that they're trying to collect from him,
and also the fact that the leadership role that he's played, still without the captaincy, and the way that he approached it, and how the whole organization passed the captaincy along. Mm-hmm. I think it wouldn't be right to just brush that off and be like, hey, thank you for your service kind of thing. Bye.
Yeah.
No, you got to do the right thing here and keep him in the system because he's an important factor.
It's that Craig Conroy mentality. I want somebody who wants to play here and wants to be here. We're going to find a way to sign him, right?
Absolutely.
And I think Brad Treliving brings that to the organization as well. It's also worth noting, too, this season, his faceoff percentage is 59.3. His career faceoff percentage is 53.3. So he's also 6 points up on his overall faceoff winning percentage. That's as important as anything when you're a centerman to be able to win those faceoffs in the zone. We saw it a few games back with Matthews winning one back to Marner for the quick goal as well. So just he's doing it in all facets of the game, and I think that's such an important note to have. In saying that, quick word from our sponsors over at DraftKings Sportsbook. This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going. But that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out. Not everybody, of course. And games left for you to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your bet or place your first bet. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. NHL and NHL team marks are the property of the NHL and its teams. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights are reserved. Well, that was a mouthful. Anyways, I know I got my favorites to win the cup. I've got a few futures riding on it, so we'll discuss that come playoff time. But before we get into the last few notes here, William Nylander, first year of an 8-year deal. Maybe again, not to pump my own tires, but I wrote a piece for the Hockey Writers about the Nylander model. Right, this is a guy who rides the subway into game days, into the practices, whatever. This is a guy who signs an 8-year deal, wants to play in Toronto, has shown his desire and love for the city, and he's gone out after signing that deal and put up a career high in goals. He's been one of the most consistent goal scorers of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He does it with such professionalism. When he scores one arm up, that's a simple celebration. And on top of all of that, the noise doesn't seem to bother him. And the conversation around it was that, like, John Tavares even came out and said, you know, it's crazy to see that he's almost at like just a level. He's unfazed. He's just there's no up and down with him. It's he's just there to do his job. And the quote of the year might be him after scoring another 2 goals to reach that mark, saying, you know, I'm just trying to do what I get paid to do. And that's to score goals. It's as simple as that for William Nylander.
And that's the mentality that you need to have as a player on this team because of the noise and everything like that. You know, when you're getting paid that much money, you're expected big things. You're expected the goals. You're expected the point production. A little bit down from the 98 that he had, but then again, he doesn't have as many assists. But when you surpass and you set a career high in goals of 42, I'm paying you to be productive and score. That's what we're getting right now. I mean, that is literally him just spitting truth right then and there.
Yeah, I mean, 3 consecutive seasons of 40 goals. I believe, I'm just trying to pull it up here, but I believe he is, one of 4 Leafs to do that. One of 4 Leafs now to hit 40 goals in 3 consecutive seasons, joining Austin Matthews, who did it from 2019-2020 to last season. Obviously, he's not going to hit that mark this season. Lanny McDonald, who did it from 1976, 77 to 78, 79. And, of course, Rick Vibe, who did it from 1981, 82 to 83, 84. So, I mean, pretty impressive group of people to be named with. And I mean, 42 goals. You mentioned his point total is going to be down this season. Noteworthy. He's +6, 42 goals in 74 games. Again, hasn't missed a game this season. And he's focusing more on all facets of his game. He's playing nearly 20 minutes. He's just shy of what he averaged last season, but we saw it early on. He was fighting for minutes with Craig Berube, and that was okay. I think that's what Craig Berube wanted. He wanted to force him to kind of get to that point. We talked about John Tavares and his clutch goals. 8 game winners, 2 overtime winners for William Nylander. He's much further down in terms of shots this season, 237 shots. His shot percentage has jumped from 12.7% last year to 17.7% this year. He's making the most of his opportunities. This is a guy that you want on your team every single day. And this is coming from a guy I've admitted on this podcast time and
From the
time
very
again.
beginning. Yeah.
At the beginning of his career, I wanted him moved. I thought he was soft. I thought he was going to be a detriment to the team. And
even before he signed that deal.
Even before he signed that deal.
Yeah.
And he's come out and he shoved it right down my throat. And I'm eating every ounce of my words. And it tastes fucking amazing. It tastes amazing. So, yeah,
that's what Nylander. That's what Nylander does. He gets the haters on his side, man. That's
serving it on a platter, bringing it to my door. Forget DoorDash. I got William Nylander just shoving shit down my throat.
That would be a great like promo right there. Nylander serving all the haters.
Yeah.
Basically, right there.
You heard it here. Sticks in the Six first. We're gonna create a commercial here with William Nylander serving shit to people at their doors. I love it.
I mean, if we want to add something else on there, he's the eighth. Like he has the eighth most goals over the last 3 seasons, behind the likes of Draisaitl, Pastrnak, Matthews, Point, Rantanen, Reinhart, and McKinnon. So yeah, this guy is legit. He is elite, and everyone was saying, "Oh, can he keep up this elite production during the contract?" Well, we're in year 1 right now. We got 7 more to go, and fingers crossed it's still going to happen. But knowing Nylander, he's going to come through and he's going to do that.
If it ages even half as well as the John Tavares contract,
oh yeah,
I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised. Right?
I would love that instantly. If he's like even pushing beyond 100 points too, even better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anyways, final note for the Leafs here. There is conversation from some Toronto media that the Leafs could potentially hold on to some cap space, given that Marner has not signed yet. What do they do if he walks? To go after the likes of Connor McDavid as a plan B. I know it's crazy that we call Connor McDavid a plan B, but what are your thoughts on this? Is this reality, or is this just more conversation and noise in the Toronto atmosphere?
I think it is conversation and noise, because I wholeheartedly I do think McDavid's still going to sign in Edmonton.
Yeah. I think Marner signs in Toronto.
Yeah. I think in a perfect world, would I love to see the Maple Leafs go after Connor McDavid if he does hit the market? Absolutely. I mean, this is the best player in the league right now. You have to give him everything at this point. But considering how Tavares says that he still wants to be here, are you really like? And I get Marner wants his money. He's going to get paid. I think Marner still stays in Toronto too. But if you have to fall back on the best player and then he's gone, it's no better than what the Jays did to try and get Soto and Ohtani and then miss out and whiff on that. Mm-hmm. I get what you're trying to do. You want to get that cap space and sign one of the best players, but then again, you're just putting, instead of having, you want to spread that money, you wanted to spread that money out with the contracts, right? Now you're missing 2 pieces, but you're getting one, albeit the best player in the world. Again, it kind of seems counterintuitive when you want to spread that money out with the cap going up and get as many high-end pieces that you can to fill out your roster and make sure you have the proper depth pieces to, complement the top 6. I think this would still be a better top 6 than what it is in Edmonton, because you only have McDavid, Draisaitl. Zach Hyman has had a down year. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has had a down year. And I'm just going to try to pull it up quickly, what the stats are like with the Edmonton Oilers right now, because I believe obviously those 2 are 1-2. There's no doubt about that. But the next forward is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 49 points. No other forward, I mean, that's probably going to change very soon, but no other forward has cracked 50 points at this moment. Mm-hmm. That means that you're weighing heavily and you're putting all your faith into the 2 guys and you're letting everyone else try and play catch up. Because, I mean, you try to sign Victor Arvidsson 24 points. Jeff Skinner's at 25. You wanted to try and get those depth signings and they're not doing a whole lot when they're playing with the best player in the world right now. So I don't know. It just seems counterintuitive what they want to do with their cap money. But if you lose both of those players and you try to get him and then you miss out, then you miss out on 3 great players. And now you have to try and go in and like, okay, well, who's going to replace him? Kind of thing. Like, is Sam Bennett going to be a good replacement for Tavares? Possibly. But is Brock Besser going to be a good replacement over Mitch Marner? Probably not. We know the struggles that he's had and the injury concerns. That's something to consider. So, yeah, that's just where I'm at right now. Like, realistically, I would want him, but theoretically and realistically, I'm sorry. I'm just going to scratch that, reverse it. Hypothetically, I would love that. Yeah. But theoretically and realistically, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like we've talked about. You want kind of more equality throughout your lineup. If you go out and throw all that kind of money at McDavid, it'd be nice to see him in a Leafs uniform. I think that's, anybody who says otherwise is crazy. That said, to go out and sign him and then have Matthews signed to what you're gonna have him signed to, it just, a lot of it won't make sense. It just. Yeah. Long term, it doesn't make sense. Even with the cap going up, it doesn't make sense. You want to build the full roster. Every team that wins the Stanley Cup has 4 lines that they can run at any given time throughout the game. The Leafs are getting there. They need to stick with that and forget all this noise about trying to go out and sign Connor McDavid to a big ticket. It doesn't make sense. I know there's this whole mentality of, Toronto bringing Toronto boys back, but there's certain aspects of the game that you have to consider as well. And I think having 4 strong lines is one of those, one of the biggest anyways. Quick news actually out of Edmonton, since we're kind of discussing that. The Oilers have signed 2024-25 Swedish Hockey League scoring leader David Tomasek to a 1-year, $1.2 million contract for the 2025-26 season. According to Frank Saravelli, Stan Bowman traveled out to Sweden during the 4 Nations face-off break to get eyes on Tomasek and see him directly. So interesting there, as Edmonton adds another piece from the SHL. So that'll be interesting. Since we last recorded, I think we should also discuss the fact that Sidney Crosby has passed Wayne Gretzky for most point per game seasons all time with 20 point per game seasons. Crazy impressive for a guy that's done it for so long and does it with class and has done it well. Very impressive from that standpoint. On another note, another Gretzky record about to fall, as Alex Ovechkin is just 4 goals away in the Great Chase.
Yeah.
I do have money on him breaking that. I took that out. I think we've discussed this before. I took that out the night before he broke his leg. So for him to come back and be this close,
there you go.
Creating some intensity. Money. It's creating
Instant
some intensity.
Money right there, man.
So that's also impressive. Before we close out here, I want to get a quick thought from you as well on the rookie race here, the Calder race. Macklin Celebrini, who's obviously done wonders for a team that's not really making it. They've looked good this season. He obviously battled an early injury. He's done well as to lead that team offensively. Versus Lane Hutson, who's the first defenseman since Nicholas Lidstrom to record 60 points as a rookie defenseman. He's absolutely, like the other night, 3 points again. He's absolutely tearing it up. He moves the puck well. He skates well. He's like, this kid's the real deal. And there's a lot of conversation that he should be considered for the Calder Trophy over guys like Dustin Wolf, over Macklin Celebrini. What's your pick and what's your take?
Got to be Lane Hutson at this point. I mean, there's always kind of that rule of thumb where if you get 50 points as a defender, you probably should get it. He's already at 60 right now and counting, or 63 and counting right now, or 62 and counting. So, yeah, the minutes that he's getting, the production, the assists, being a part of like a long list of legendary players with what he's accomplishing in his rookie season, it's got to be Lane Hutson. Again, Celebrini's making it close, but I think Hutson is having more of that impact than even Dustin Wolf, where their teams are in a playoff spot or fighting for a playoff spot. Sharks, not necessarily, but again, Celebrini is carrying his team night in, night out. But yeah, it's got to be Lane Hudson, and it's kind of funny because he was taken late in the second round when he should have been kind of like in the early part of that second, borderline first. So you could tell Montreal is just eating this all up right now, that they got a quality puck moving defender and possibly rookie of the year. But he's my pick at this moment right now.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think the playoff aspect comes into play as well. The fact that nobody's done it since Nick Lidstrom, I think that's got to come. I think often there's this mentality that the first overall pick has to get it if he's having a good season. I think you steer away from that. I think
Not
Lane Hudson's
necessarily,
got to
yeah.
be Lane Hudson's got to be considered the favorite for that right now.
Always go with the most impactful player. That's
Absolutely.
basically it.
Absolutely. Quick little Leaf prospect talk. Ben Danford gets the Bobby Orr Award for the best defenseman in the OHL. On top of that, you've got Easton Cowan right now sitting second in playoff scoring through 3 games for the London Knights with 8 points. He had a 4-point night in Game 3, so that was impressive as well. So keep an eye on the London Knights as they continue to push through those OHL playoffs. Outside of that, Peter, I'm glad we got back on here. We have
Absolutely.
we have a new outro music that's probably going to be coming out mid-April, and we're gonna have that artist on the pod to talk about that and talk about the new avenues that they are traveling down. So we're excited for that as well. We're gonna open that up probably like I said mid-April. So look
Perfect.
forward to that. Aside from that, big shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network family. Make sure you tune into all of their podcasts. There's a ton of them. It's great content. Check out DraftKings Sportsbook. You use code THPN. SeatGeek, you can use Sticks in the Six to get $20 off your first purchase, as well as BioSteel and No Name Hockey and the Indie Ale House. Until next time, we got more Leafs content on the way. Let's hope they clinch tonight. Go Leafs, go.